All right, question 1. Which of these simplified answers is equal to the following expression? X to the 9 y squared divided by x cubed y to the 6. So for this specific question, the law of exponent we're going to be using is the one that looks like this, right? A to the n divided by a to the m is equal to a n minus m. Essentially what that means is if we're dividing two things that have the same base, like a here, we're going to subtract the exponents, the top minus the bottom, okay? And you see in this case, that's what we have. We have x on top, x on bottom, so we can subtract the exponents, top minus bottom, n minus 3. And here we have y on top, y on bottom. So same base, we subtract the exponents, top minus bottom, okay? And so that's going to give me x6, y to the negative 4. Okay, we have a negative exponent here, so we have to use this other law. A to the minus n is equal to 1 over a to the positive n, okay? Whenever we have a negative exponent, it's going to go to the bottom, right? If it was already on top here, it's going to go to the bottom, and we're going to flip that sign from negative to positive, okay? So in this case, that x to the 6 is going to stay exactly where it is. It was already positive. But in this case, that y to the negative 4, we had a negative exponent, so it's going to go to the bottom. The sign of the exponent is going to turn positive. And so this is the answer for question 1. It's x to the 6 over y to the 4. And that is A. All right, question 2. Which of the following answers is equal to the following expression? So we've got 3x cubed squared and y squared to the 4. Okay, so we've got something here that's being multiplied, and it's also raised to an exponent. And that in itself is raised to an exponent. In here at the bottom, we've got something raised to an exponent, raised to an exponent. Okay. So what we're going to do first is, because all we have here is multiplication, right? Remember that trick that I had in my little law of exponents review video? If we have no plus or minus, it's all just dividing or multiplication. We can distribute this outer exponent by multiplying it to all of the exponents inside that bracket. Okay? So we're going to end up with 3 squared x 6, right? 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6, okay? Divided by, and same idea here, okay? And in fact, and this one is more specific. This is the law of exponent. That's a to the n to the m is equal to a n times m, okay? So we have something raised to an exponent, raised to an exponent. So we can just say that is equal to y to the 8, okay? And 3 squared, that fits in your calculator, so you should be able to calculate that. You don't even have to use a calculator for this, actually. That's just 9 x6 over y to the 8. And that's the answer for question 2. Okay? And that is over here, B. All right, question 3. Which of these simplified answers is equal to the following expression? All right, so in this case, we've got 5x to the 4 times 4x cubed. What we're going to do here, right, is multiply the numbers together. So 5 times 4 is 20, right? Multiplying the coefficients together. And here we've got x to the 4 times x cubed. Now don't forget that law of exponents here, right? We have a to the n times a to the m. If we have the same base being multiplied together, we add their exponents, okay? And so we're going to get x to the 4 plus 3, which is 20x7. So that's B. All right, question 4. Simplify the following expressions. Your answer should contain only positive exponents. Okay, so in this case, question 4a, it's basically the same thing as question 1. We've got x to the 4 times y to the 6 divided by x squared times y to the 5. So we're going to be using that law of exponent again that looks like this, right? Let me use a different color here. Like this, right? Same base. We're going to subtract the exponents, okay? Top minus bottom. So for A, we've got x 4 minus 2, y 6 minus 5. That's just going to be x squared y. That's the answer for A. Okay, b. First things first, we're going to use this law of exponent here. A to the n to the m, something raised to an exponent raised to an exponent. We multiply those exponents. Okay? So here we've got 4 times 1 is 4. And here we've got 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. And here we have a negative exponent. We know that my answer should only contain positive exponents. So we're going to use that other law of exponents, right? The one that looks like this. If you have a negative exponent, it's going to go to the bottom and change signs, right? If it was already at the top, it's going to go to the bottom. So we're going to leave that x to the 4 as it is. It already had a positive exponent. The only one we have to change is that negative exponent. It's going to go to the bottom now, and that negative is going to turn positive. And that's your answer for B. All right, C. We've got something that looks very similar to question 3. It's a coefficient times a variable times another coefficient times a variable. So those coefficients are going to be multiplied together. Okay, notice the coefficients are just 5 to some exponent and 5 to some exponent. They have the same base. So we can just add their exponents together using this law of exponent here, right? A to the n times a to the m is equal to a to the n plus m, right? If we have the same base, we can add their exponents together. So 5 squared times 5 cubed is 5 to the 2 plus 3, right? And same with the x's, okay? X to the 2 plus 3. And so that's going to give me 5 to the 5 times x to the 5. And 5 to the 5, that fits in your calculator. That should be 3125 x to the 5. That is your answer for 4C, okay? And last but not least here, for D, right, we've got x to the negative 2 times 7 to the 1 divided by y to the negative 3. So remember those laws of exponents for negative exponents, right? A to the negative n is 1 over a to the n, and 1 over a to the negative n is equal to a to the positive n. So if it was, in the numerator already, it's going to go to the denominator, negative turns positive. If that negative was in the denominator, it's going to go to the numerator, negative turns positive, okay? So in this case, we've got x to the negative 2. So we're going to take that, we're going to bring it to the bottom here, okay? And change that negative to a positive. I'm going to multiply it 2. And here on top we have 7 to the 1, okay? And 7 to the 1 is just 7, right? Anything to the power of 1 is itself. And at the bottom we've got y to the minus 3. And y to the minus 3, it's got a negative exponent. So it's going to go back up to the top, and that negative 3 is going to turn positive. All that's left on the bottom is just a 1, okay? And now to multiply two fractions together, we just multiply the top, multiply the bottom. So we're just going to add two little multiplication signs here and kind of connect this little fraction, okay? And 1 times 7y cubed is just 7y cubed. And at the bottom, we've got x squared. And that's my answer for 4D. Okay, question 5. So let's see here. We've got 5a, x to the negative 2, y to the 4 divided by y cubed, all to the power of 2. Right, so first things first here, we've got y on top and y on bottom. And remember your laws of exponents here, right? We've got y on top, y on bottom. We can use this law of exponent here, a to the n over a to the m is equal to a to the n minus m. If you have the same base on top and on bottom, you can just subtract the exponents from the top minus bottom, right? So here we're going to get, we still have x to the minus 2 here, but we're going to have y to the 4 minus 3, all to the power of 2, okay? And so that's going to be x to the minus 2 times y to the 1 is just y, all to the power of 2. Now remember our other law of exponents, right? A times b to the n is equal to a to the n times b to the n. If we have two things in brackets that are being multiplied together, we can distribute the n, and it applies to everything being multiplied. Okay? Doesn't work if there's a plus or a minus sign, only if there's a multiplication or division. Okay? If there's a fraction as well. Okay? So what you're going to get here is distribute that 2. You're going to get x to the minus 4, y to the 2, right? And because you have a negative exponent here, we're going to use that law of exponents. A to the minus n is equal to 1 over a to the n. Okay? And so you're going to get y squared over x to the positive 4. And that's the answer for A. Okay? Now, for B here, okay, we have this same idea. We have two things being multiplied. We can distribute that 3. Same idea here. 3 things being multiplied. We're going to distribute that 2. Okay? So we're going to multiply all of the exponents by that outer exponent here. Okay? So 1 times 3 is going to be 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Okay? Here we've got 9 to the power of 0. That's just 1, right? Anything to the power of 0 is 1. So we don't even have to write that. We could just probably get rid of it. Okay? So 2 times 2 is 4. And minus 5 times 2 is minus 10. All right? I had a really helpful trick that I included in the Law of Exponents review video. So if you guys haven't watched that yet, highly recommend giving it a watch. Super helpful. Okay, you could just distribute that exponent by multiplying it to all of the inner exponents if there's no plus or minus sign in those brackets. If that makes absolutely no sense to you, go watch that video. I do a couple examples using that trick. Okay, but anyway, so we now have x cubed y 12 times x4 y minus 10. Okay, so we're going to use this law of exponent here. A to the n times a to the m is equal to a to the n plus m. If we have the same base being multiplied together, you can just add the exponents. Okay, so here we have x and x. We can add their exponents. 3 plus 4 is 7, and 12 plus minus 10 is 2. And that's the answer for question 5b. Now, for question 5c here, okay, we have something raised to an exponent, raised to an exponent. Here we have something raised to an exponent, raised to an exponent. So remember, a to the n to the m is equal to a to the n times m. Okay, if you have something raised to an exponent, we multiply those two exponents together. So x to the 5 times 2 is 10, divided by x to the 3 times 4 is 12. Okay? And so now we have x to the 10 divided by x to the 12. That's going to go back to this law of exponent up here, right? We have the same base. So we can just divide these two by subtracting the exponents. Top minus bottom, 10 minus 12 is x to the negative 2. We have a negative exponent here, so we're going to use this law of exponents, okay? And that's going to end up with 1 over x squared, okay? And that's the answer for 5c. Last but not least, okay, 5d, we have a fraction raised to an exponent, another fraction raised to an exponent. We're going to use that trick that I taught in that review video, okay? Just going to distribute that outer exponent by multiplying it to all of the exponents inside, because we don't have any plus signs, we don't have any minus signs, we just have multiplications and divisions. Actually, there's no multiplication here, it's just divisions inside, okay? So, x to the 4 times minus 3 is minus 12, y to the 5 times minus 3 is minus 15, times, here we've got minus 2 times 2 is minus 4, here we've got 3 times 2 is 6, okay? So we can multiply these fractions together. How do we do that? By just multiplying the top and the bottom, okay? Top, top, bottom, bottom, and we're just going to do that by combining the fraction like that and slapping down some multiplication signs there, okay? So multiply the top by the top, we get x to the minus 12 times x to the minus 4. We can compute that. We can find out what that is using this law of exponent that we used before, right? Two things with the same base, we just add their exponents. So we get x to the minus 12 minus 4 is minus 16. And here we're going to get minus 9. We have a negative exponent here. We have a negative exponent here. So if we had a negative exponent in the numerator, it's going to go to the denominator, and that negative is going to turn positive. And if it was in the denominator, it's going to go up to the numerator, and that negative is going to turn positive. That is your answer for 5D.